When a horse refuses to go forward, it's not just frustrating, but it actually can become dangerous. I have seen situations more than once to where the horse will stop and refuse to go forward, and the rider is trying to make the horse go forward by kicking or prodding or spurring or spanking. And I've seen that situation to where it just escalates to where the horse will start rearing, kicking out, bucking, running backwards. They'll do anything but go forward. And that can become dangerous. Some horses, they'll just stand there and ignore you and take it. But other horses, that'll cause an argument with them, and it's just not safe for you or the horse. So I want to share a story with you. This happened to me about a year ago on my friend's horse. And the reason I want to share the story with you is in case you ever find yourself in this situation to where a horse just stops and refuses to go forward, that maybe my story can give you some ideas of what to do or what not to do in this kind of situation. So about a year ago, my friend, she's a beginner, she's a newbie. She just got into horses. She doesn't know anything about horses at all. And the two horses that she gets for her and her daughter are actually pretty good picks for them to learn from. The horse that she got, he was a really cool horse. He was like cool, calm, confident horse, just really laid back. And at first, they were getting along really well. She was taken out for rides. Everything was going good. But eventually, things started going downhill. And the horse, he just started to, stop listening to her, started ignoring her. He started making his own decisions. And she was just getting frustrated. So one day, she ends up getting a hold of me. She's like, you know what? I can't even take him out for rides anymore. Every time I try to take him out for a ride now, he just stops and refuses to go forward. So I try to get him to go forward, and he rears up, and then I get scared, and then we end up just going home. And I don't know what to do. And just knowing her, knowing the horse, his background, where he came from, he used to be a ranch horse. I knew immediately what the reason why he was refusing to go forward. So I was like, you know what? I'll come over tomorrow, take a look at him, and we can go out for a ride. I'll ride him. So the next day, I go over there. The very first thing I want to check is the tack, because I always want to rule that out first, because horses will refuse to go forward if they are anticipating feeling pain or discomfort. That they will not go forward. So knowing him, knowing the horse, checking the tack, I knew that's not what it was, but I ruled that out. The next thing I need to rule out is fear. Horses will refuse to go forward if they're scared of like a scary object over here or a situation going on over here that they're unsure about. They'll refuse to go forward. With him and knowing him, I didn't really think that's what it was. Another reason why a horse will refuse to go forward is from lack of training or rider error. But again, knowing the horse, he used to be a ranch horse, and knowing her, and I had been helping her along a little bit, and she has showed me, but I knew that's not what it was. What was going on is basically a lack of respect. The horse understood the forward cue. He understood what she was asking. It was just a lack of respect. He just didn't want to go forward. So I ended up tacking him up, warming him up. We mounted up. I had her lead us out on her, on her other horse. And as soon as we got to the trail, he stopped and he refused to go forward. So how I convinced him to go forward willingly is what I did 3 things. Number 1 is I outlasted him. Number 2 is I used prevention. And number 3, I used the concept to make the right thing easy, the wrong thing hard. So when he stopped and refused to go forward, I could tell immediately that I couldn't use too much leg pressure, because when I'd put my legs on to get rid of that leg pressure, to get rid of that pressure, he was trying to rear, or he would try to kick out. So he'd get light on his front end or he'd get light on his back end. So I had to use some prevention. So he stopped, he refused. I lightly asked him with my legs. He said no. I could feel he's wanting to rear up. So I immediately pull his head around to prevent him from rearing up, have him disengage his hindquarters. So I have him move his hind end around. I hustle his hind end around. I do that for 20, 30 seconds. Stop, point him in the direction I want him to go, which is my friend up there on her other horse. I ask him lightly again to go forward. He says no. This time he's light on his hind end like he's going to kick out. So to prevent that, I immediately pull his head around and then disengage his hindquarters, hustle his hind end around, and do that for 20 or 30 seconds. And again, point us in the direction I want to go. And I would continue repeating that until he finally went forward, and we ended up having a nice ride. But how I got him to go forward is I didn't make him go forward. I just changed his mind. I just convinced him that going forward was easier than staying here and getting your head pulled around and having to move your hind end around. So I didn't make him go forward. If I kept trying to make him go forward, I would just get in an argument with him, and he would try to rear up and kick out, try any other option besides going forward. So, after he finally moved off, you could just see I changed his whole mindset. He was like a different horse. He just melted after he moved off. He lowered his head. He was doing a bunch of blowouts, a bunch of sighs, and we had a really nice ride. He had a couple little hiccups where I just did a little bit of a reminder, and he's like, oh yeah. But yeah, even though that was a temporary fix, I knew I could convince him to willingly go, to move off and go out for a ride. I knew I could control the situation. But for my friend, I gave her some advice. I told her what she needed to do. Don't try to take him out for a ride anymore. You need to go back to the basics with him. Start gaining some more respect from him. And I told her, because if he was my horse, one of the very first things I'd work on with him is establishing that forward cue. So I'd start on the ground, and I would build a strong forward cue. Then when I got that on the ground, I'd do it under saddle. But yeah, she had some work cut out for her. She had some homework, and it was just about a lack of respect. He didn't respect her leadership. And so, yeah. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, don't try to make the horse go forward. Instead, change his mind.